and it was only one match that I need to watch from Revolution, and that was the main event between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega.
Kenny was like the best in Japan. Jon Moxley, obviously multiple-time WWE champion and stuff like that. So it's just like you have these two great stars from two different companies.
Jon Moxley wanted his rematch. He got screwed from the last time, and like any other face or any other, even any performer, you know, that loses their title, they want it back.
This has been the longest feud in AEW, basically, in which these two have been fighting since Double or Nothing, and it has come to this. Even though I don't understand why Kenny introduced the match.
The story coming into this match, you had Moxley going against Omega. Omega is tired of Jon Moxley, and he decided the only way that he can get rid of Moxley is to have this explosive barbed wire death match.
They told the story. Moxley seemed stressed going in there. He was taking swigs of whiskey before the match to do this. And I thought they did a good job in conveying that this is a death match, that somebody could die in this one.
You know, Mick Foley lost his whole fucking ear, or like part of his ear in a fucking death match. I think that they did deliver on the story aspect of it because of who it was and what it is. Being that also, like, you know, it's not a similar style, but they both are familiar with you know, that style of match. But we'll talk about that when it comes to the stipulation part of things. But as opposed to the story, they did follow that aspect of the match. So that's getting a star because they did follow the story.
So I think that gives it a star. I think it played very well on going to the match.
Story? I thought, you know what? They told a decent story going in. I'm going to give it a star for story.
And then they set the stage for the epicness of this is when Excalibur says, and I quote, "This match has a 30-minute time limit. If this match is not concluded by the 30 minutes, the whole ring will explode in an explosion. And at that point, a winner will be determined. Whoever survives the explosion." And at that point, I bought in. I bought into the story. It's some things I didn't like, but however, the story that they were trying to tell me, I bought into. And for that, it gets 1 star for the story.
How they started it, obviously, it was like, all right, who's going to do the whole, you know, who's going to be the first one to have the bomb? Because we didn't know how these bombs were even going to play out once someone hit the actual, you know, ropes. So it was like a little bit of anticipation in the beginning until obviously they did hit the ropes, and it was, you know, the bombs could have been a little bit better.
The in-ring work was great. Let me just backtrack. The in-ring work that they did was fantastic. Like they sold every fucking thing that they could, like the knees to the face with like his knee pad. He had the barbed wire chair that he did. Jon Moxley actually taking the barbed wire off of the rope and then, you know, putting it on his face. And then there's a lot of color in this match, you know, a lot of color adding effect to the in-ring work and stuff like that. The psychology was there. It matched with the story. Like the match would have been great. The match would have been great if the Good Brothers didn't interfere, and then that awful fucking sparkler explosion. I don't know what the fuck they call that shit. Like my fucking little nephews could do better explosions than that fucking in Louisiana. The fuck is going on?
This was a battle between Omega and Moxley, and the Good Brothers have sullied the name of AEW because, I'm sorry, they have too much involvement and they don't really deliver anything. They need to keep their asses in Impact.
When it comes to being a champ and you're the biggest heel in your the promotion you're in, obviously you're going to have your backup. And it made sense when the Good Brothers came out because, there's no disqualification. So of course they're going to come in and they're going to and that's why it's not surprised that Omega won, because he had his boys come out, which is, you know, so I don't think it kind of, you know, I kind of was like, like, they came out, whatever, typical, but it's still, like I said, it still made sense.
With the way, like, the way that the match ended, you know what I mean? Like, the way that match ended with the Good Brothers coming out, and ruining the one-on-one, ruining the hype, ruining the, you know, and it just sucked because like nobody else came out for Jon Moxley in the middle of the match. I think it would have worked better if Eddie Kingston came out, or like, you know, the Eddie Kingston with Butcher and Blade came out and tried to fucking negate goddamn the Good Brothers from being in the match or something like that. So that way it can make like, you know, a two sides, like two rival factions going against each other type stuff. Like, even though they're not a whole group or anything like that, but you know, it's the match ended dumb.
In ring wise, I thought, you know what, considering the circumstances of the match, that it was a ring surrounded by barbed wire and stuff, I thought they had solid work. They, you know, they tried to introduce psychology into it, but I think it's really hard to give a star for in ring when you just failed to execute some of the things.
The match itself, I don't know if this was the best plan to do with the design of the match, because you limit so many options that you can do inside the ring. They tried to teeter with each other with, oh, let me act like I'm going to throw you into the barbed wire. Let me throw you into the barbed wire. And then next thing you know, they go outside of the ring, and they're outside the ring, and Moxley throws in weapons inside the ring. And then he finally gets back into the ring. And then for whatever reason, Omega has the powder. The powder has made a debut in this match. I mean, it's a Japanese tradition. You got to love the powder. Mr. Fuji made the powder famous. So he throws the powder into the eyes of Moxley. And for the first time, Moxley is whipped into the ropes. And we get our first explosion. And I laughed.
It was okay. Like, it was like, boom, you know. And, you know, even though commentary did exaggerate it a little bit, I still would give it a star for effort, basically. E for effort I give them, but this one's for obviously a star. So I give them an E for effort on that, performance wise, because even though it was pretty lackluster, the explosions and stuff like that, they still tried to make the match as entertaining as they could.
That explosion, I mean, aesthetically, it was fine. But I think the way that they shot it with the camera work, it just, I don't know. It didn't really work for me.
But as opposed to the in-ring work gets a star because they were selling properly. They executed their moves correctly. They had some color. They followed the story with their moves. Yeah, they were doing the damn thing in the ring.
And it's just one of those things for me. I just felt that this was just too overly produced, and they had too many stipulations going in, and I didn't feel it. And for that reason, I can't give it any stars for the in-ring work. It was not a good match for me.
The stipulation is ridiculous. It's over the top. But I'm going to give it a star for stipulation for the audacity of them trying to do an exploding barbed wire death match. You're not getting this in WWE. You can't afford to do this in Impact or any of these other promotions.
Well, stipulation I'll give a star. But when comparing it to other death matches I've seen, it's not comparable to that. But the stipulation was a star because it did match what the storyline was going between both Moxley and Omega. So I'm going to give the stipulation a star.
As opposed to the stipulation of the match that gets a star, I mean, you can't not show exploding barbed wire death match, even though the explosions was less than advertised. But you know, there was barbed wire, it was a death match, there was color, so you know, that gets a star from me.
But so for the stipulation, I can't give a star. For the atmosphere and the production, I can't give a star, mainly because they really flubbed the ending. The ending, they were trying to tell the story after Omega had won the match, and you have Eddie Kingston, you have the Blade and the Butcher, shout out to them, the Butcher and the Blade, and they come out there and they're trying to make the save, and then Eddie Kingston is going to sacrifice himself for Jon Moxley because no one has the off switch to stop the explosion from taking place. Then the explosion takes place, and it's like the biggest disappointment ever. It's like Christian Cage walking out talking about he's debuting on AEW now. It was just a disappointment. It let me down.
as opposed to the atmosphere and production, that's getting a fucking 0. There's no fucking stars for that. And it would have been okay because, like, you know, due to the live crowd, again, I was in an area where I was watching the show with a bunch of people, so that built up the atmosphere even more. And, you know, the end just killed it. Literally, the end of the whole shit just killed everything that pay-per-view had going for it. So it gets nothing. Atmosphere production, it gets 0. TK fucked up. TK dropped the ball. Fuck out of here.
And then it went off that way. I'm sorry. Kane has more fire. Like, you could have set up a fire pit or something, have flames pop up, have the whole thing go, make it seem like the world has ended because of this. And then, like, it just didn't work for me. So for the stipulation, I can't give a star because I don't think they executed the stipulation. And then the atmosphere production, I can't give a star because the atmosphere and the production value, I thought they missed on a lot of shots, and I just can't.
Excalibur and everybody on the commentary team was hyping it up like, oh my god, no, get out of there, go away, oh my god. And then the countdown, big countdown in the back, and then all of a sudden, sparkles. The fuck was that? And then as true professionals, Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley just laid there like fucking their lives was on the line. It was embarrassing. Except for like at the end, they the stipulation part of the deal, like they did use, like in the beginning of the match or the first half of that match, they did use the ring well, like, you know, when they'd hit the rope it would explode. I'm thinking, like, you know, why didn't they do that at the end? What the fuck? They had all, like, what happened? You know, did they use too much explosions for Cody's entrance or some shit? The fuck? I could have fucking played my fucking guitar, fucking all the. I could have fucking did that shit for fucking 5 hours if I knew that was gonna be the ending. The fuck?
The ending was absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to not give it a star for atmosphere because that ending was utter trash. It made no sense. Brandon Cutler had better pyrotechnics than that one. It's an embarrassment that they have a show called AEW Dynamite and cannot produce Dynamite. Okay, that they're on the TNT title and don't network and don't have TNT. It is ridiculous and absurd, and I cannot give them to that. And I know Excalibur, JR, and Tony Schiavone did their best to try to describe what was going on and try to do the intensity, but it wasn't there. I felt like the whole stage looked cheap. I felt like the barbed wire was cheap. I felt like I was cheated on $60.
I did enjoy the countdown clock, but then again, I don't give it a star because all that good stuff made it lead to a big nothing. I would not give it a star because yes, they try to hide it saying, oh, Omega had the whole, they really went in. They even made us have seen a whole, blueprint of him writing it and everything. And they made us legit really think that ring was going to blow up. I guess I'm the only one. I don't know. Maybe because I don't invest myself a lot in AEW as much as a lot of people. But me personally, watching wrestling for so many years, I knew obviously that no one was going to die in this. I don't know why people thought someone was actually going to die. So when something like that doesn't happen, I'm not like, oh, why they say that? I knew that wasn't going to happen. But while I was watching that match, I did expect a bigger explosion, though. Like, I expected more like WWE type boom, 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 like at least in the corners and like some type of cane type fireballs coming up. So I think production wise kind of fucked up and they didn't have their setup correctly. And there was some type of botch, some type of cross wiring going on. And I honestly think they just messed up. I think they really botched the whole shit out of that ending. Also too, with the whole explosions going into the ropes, I think they could also did a little bit better too. If you're going to exaggerate a match, you should exaggerate a match.
The match was good. I was entertained for the match. Good Brothers came out, fucked up the match. Okay, they're heels. That's what they do. That's what they want. They need Kenny to be champion. Okay, got you, heard you. But then for the explosions to be fucking sparklers that my son and daughter could fucking hold up. They could have fucking went to John Moxley and just was like, yeah, that's it. That's all they had to do, and it would have been the same fucking shit. So they get. I enjoyed the match, but it's getting a big fat 0. Sorry, they fucked it up.
I'm not gonna base my whole my whole opinion on just those final moments of the match, because I did enjoy it. It wasn't bad. I'm not gonna say it's horrible. Like people saying, basing off that ending off the whole entire match. Mind you, if that ending didn't happen, I think people would have probably had a different mindset. It was just commentary also, hyped us up too. I think it was just the big hype until it was just a big flat line. So I'll still give it a star though.
And then as for overall entertainment, did I like this match? And I can answer that with one word: no. But I think anybody who has been a long time listener of the show knows that I'm not into hardcore matches. I do not like the blood. I do not like the gore. I prefer for a match to be told inside the ring by two competitors and whatnot. And everything that they did in this match, to me, I'd say it just shortens the lifespan of this performer. Overall, I gave this match 1 star for the simple reason that I thought it was a solid enough story going into it, but everything else for me just didn't click. And my whole thing is, don't hype your shit up if you ain't ready to deliver. And that's the problem with AEW. They keep hyping shit up and then they never deliver.
I was very entertained. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was some things that I haven't seen in a long time when it came to wrestling, as in, being blood, obviously. That was a little bit like, okay, cool. That's pretty nice. All the spots that they did with Moxley over on the edge going through the barbed wire table. You got like Jamal said, the whole knee to the face, the whole barbed wire bat. They had all those elements that are in connection with the match that I did enjoy.
So overall, I'm giving this 0 stars